that thing about tithing and giving to the church, and I'm telling you, I'm not against giving to the church. Today we are exploring a powerful truth that sacrifice born out of lack is not love, it's fear. Oh, I forgot there's another culprit there, Colleen, my friend. Colleen. Yeah, that's another one. I told you I was surrounded by people like that. They're my friends. I admire them. Colleen will do something that she would normally do because, the grandchildren have to get it done. Before that, it was her children. Now she's on the grandchildren stage. And she forgets. And she just jumps that she has to take a break. Oh, he doesn't want this, she doesn't want that. I have to do that. I call her Uber. She's driving all over day and night. So she's doing the sacrifice. No, I'm not telling you these ladies I've called do not love their family. And I'm sure there is a time they will realize that sacrifice is not the same as love. We're not breathing this morning because I lectured. So this is a misunderstood virtue. Sacrifice. It's a misunderstood virtue. So let us look at how society often praises self-sacrifice as a noble act. Oh, you sacrifice, and people use it even when they just, it's a little thing they do. I sacrifice. It's a virtue, but it's a misunderstood virtue. Story time for you. So, depleting yourself for family, for work, or community, thinking it equals goodness. It does not equal goodness. There has to come a time when you have to decide, I am worthy. The thing is, what I have observed from knowing you ladies, that I'm mentioning, putting you up on there today, is that you're mirroring your childhood. You're mirroring your life in the present moment. You always were the one that showed up. You were the one that made the cake when you were 6. You were the one that was picking strawberries so everybody could have strawberries when you were 3. You are the one that sacrificed all as a young person growing up. You need to take care of mother, grandmother, uncle. You were the one that did it all. And you're still doing it all. And then John says, I say I get to do these things instead of I have to. I know there'll be a day that I may not be able to do these things for my family. Yeah. So it's perfect. You're leading me exactly where I want to go. Yeah, there comes a day you won't be able to do these things for your family. And what are you going to do when you cannot do it anymore? So, is that the aim? So I can do it now, because there's a date I wouldn't be able to do it. But what I'm here to tell you is that it's important to leave a little bit of you for you. To make sure you have left a little bit of you for you. There is a magic in saying, I would prefer. You don't have to say no. But you have to sometimes bring our children forget that we are aging. Our family forgets we are aging. And this topic is me because I am selfish. I am actually, but I learned to be selfish so that I could take care of me, so that I could leave some space for me to feel good, so that others can feel good. And I had to learn that. And I learned that by observing the ladies and friends before you guys that I saw that were running themselves ragged to the bones and nothing left for themselves. And the children are unable to do this. And that is a culture change in North America today, because we have people where they come from cultures where when their son got married, they moved in with the son and the wife had to take care of them, whether they were able or not. That's a cultural thing, because they did it, they expected it. But when they come to this North American culture, it's not possible. And they hurt. I would go to I do a talk 4 or 5 times a year at the National Institute of the Care for the Care of the Elderly. And there's women there, and they said, well, I took care of my mother-in-law, and I don't understand, why they can't. They also are in a country where the incomes are high, she said. And then I said, but you forgot. The mortgages are even higher. So you see, it was expected in that culture that the mother-in-law was catered to by the daughter-in-law. So that's a tough one. To us, that sounds like taboo, right? So there we are now. Think that we are now doing the other side of it. We're giving all we have, lock, stock, and barrel. Every nerve and sinew is being used to our children. We never say no. We do all sorts of things for them at all kinds of times. So the key point, sacrifice that drains the self, arises from the idea there is not enough. Not enough time, not enough money, not enough love or worth. So I have to give all of mine. I have to sacrifice all of me because there's not enough to go around. There's not enough for them. They're so busy. There's not enough. But the resentment steps in when they forget to say thank you. Be honest with yourself. You get resentment when you realize I've done so much for them and they decide to say didn't say thank you, or they do not cherish me, or they do not do this. And then we expect others to tell us, good boy, here's your doggy cookie, go sit in the corner now. Even when Colleen gives her dog a cookie or a treat, it has to decide if it wants to come in. Although she's offering it, the dog is refusing, I'd rather stay here. But here you are, an adult with some substance in you, an adult with age on you, experience with you. And Betty said, are they self-sacrificing because of guilty of something? No. They saw it. They were mirrored. Most women who did that had to do it growing up. They had to take care of the younger ones. They had to cook. They had to be there because mother was working or father was working or something happened, or there was so much to do. And they're usually the first ones in the family. They're usually number one, a daughter. So that's what happens. Yeah, and then on top of that, when they transfer it to the grandchildren, that then, Betty, is because they're fixing something they couldn't fix before. So they're going to go all gung-ho. I'm not making the same mistake twice. I'm going to change my way of raising children or influencing them. But it often is not too much that. It's just that they're mirroring what they were doing when they were a young person, and they had to pick up the slack. So if it drains you, it drains you. They said that, and it makes you feel that that there is not enough time because you have to do it for them. They don't have time. Emotional prosperity will tell you, true compassion is given from overflow, not from depletion. If you want to give some compassion, your compassion and understanding and support to others, make sure you have a lot. Do not just keep doing it and doing it and doing it and feeling it in your body, soul, and in every nerve and sinew. And you keep expecting them to turn back and praise you for the sacrifices you have done. You hear that? Oh, I sacrificed so much for them, and look at that today they have. No, they didn't ask you, did they? You jump in because you thought this is what I must do. And forgetting that you have a choice. So today, you have to say to yourself, I honor my own feelings first. So what I give is whole and healthy. It's no point you're aching and you're tired and you're going, Colleen is learning. Because she says to Brett, you can drive, you find your way there. Here's the car, here's the key, you do it. Because you have to do that, because there will come a time their lives are going to be too busy for them to worry about you. And the fear that you have is that you're left alone. So you need to honor your feelings first. How do you feel? Do you have to give everything to this situation? Don't be angry, but pull a little back and learn to say, I prefer not to do this, or I prefer you call me the day before or to ask me to do something. Like Colin said to me, she told them, I need your itinerary. She made sure they gave their school and work, so she said, here, give me a list, where you're going to be, when you're going to be there, and what you're going to need me for. That speaks volume. So that person has decided, hey, I'm looking in the mirror and I don't like that I am feeling empty because I've given everything to you. When you say jump, I ask how high. We need to stop that. So sacrificing your very self for the benefit of others is not always the right thing to do, especially if you're hoping. That thing, I do not like that word, hoping, is sitting on the doorstep and saying, I'm hoping they come to help me to do this, to do that. So you see, when you take your physical prosperity and you fool around with it for the benefit of others, so that the sacrifice you do, that you will think they will come and bandage the sore knee, they'll rub, they'll just look at you. Have you ever noticed when you say something is hurting, they kind of stare at you like they're not there, as much as they want to be there with you? Your body is not designed to be an endless well for everyone else's thirst. You got that? Your body is not supposed to be an endless well for everybody's thirst. So you need to schedule your rest, your nutrition and movement as non-negotiables. So you want to rest, you rest. It doesn't matter who that person is. If they're going to use you and you're constantly for them to find a way, you have to make sure you schedule rest for yourself, proper nutrition and movement as non-negotiable. You want to move, you want to walk, you want to do something, go do it. Time out. I know Colin takes the self-care show and she says to them, 9:30 to 10:30 on Sunday, do not ask me to do one thing. That's my time. But you have to do that and realize I am worthy. And if I am healthy, I can be more available for them later. So mental prosperity, scarcity thinking. You say, if I say no, I am selfish. That is a mental habit. It's not a fact. By saying no to them does not say that you're selfish. It is a habit. Because they told us selfishness is not the best thing for us. We should not be selfish. So when we say no, some of us, but if I say no, they won't like it. Did you come into the world to make them like everything you said? There are many things everybody in our lives say that we don't like, but we deal with it, or the common phrase, we get over it. So you can say no, or you can replace it is, I must with I choose. I prefer. I choose not to do this. I prefer to do that. I can't do it at your time. Next time, give me more notice. See what you can do. But after you say that, no, I could prefer, or change I must to I choose to, do not feel guilty and walk away thinking of it in your mind forever, saying, oh, this is just so terrible. I shouldn't have said no to them. Like you said, you have said no to them before. They got over it. They know how to ask. Spirit knows abundance. So that's spiritual prosperity. The divine never asks for self-harm in the name of service. God never told you, or the universe tell you to harm yourself to show that you are serving the God in the right way. So what is your affirmation for that? I serve from fullness, guided by love, not fear. If I don't do it, they won't talk to me. They won't like me. They won't visit me. they hardly come already. So if I don't call them and beg them or make a story or I'm sick or something, for them to show up, that is crazy. Nobody should do that. So when you serve others, you must serve from the fullness you have, guided by, I love them. Not fair that they won't love me in return. That shouldn't be your business. You can love them and you have fullness and you give them from that. But don't give them from an empty cup, a worn-out, tired cup. Don't do that, because you're harming yourself, and inadvertently, whatever, somehow you're harming them. Financial prosperity, insight, giving away what you cannot afford, time, money, energy, perpetuates poverty mindset. So this one is a spiritual one, but I'm going to make it a dogma behavior. So you must tithe, the pastor says. You must give to the poor, the Bible says. And then Jesus said, but the poor will always be with us. Remember that story? I know I took a little while to get there, but I'm sure all of you know that one. That story in the Bible of Martha and Mary, and one of them took the money they collected and bought oils, and she put it in Jesus' fair hair and his feet, and Judas said to them, that money should have been used to buy stuff to feed the poor. And Jesus said, the poor will always be with us. So that tells me, he says it's okay to have a hell of a good time anytime you want to. So when you tell me you are not spending your money to do something for yourself because you want to leave a legacy, and that is really nice. If you really want to give them something, do it now. Turn this thing around. Give them the rose when they can smell it. If you have a legacy to give to your children, why wait until you're dead to give it to them? Why not give it to them when you can see their faces? And maybe it might be giving them a big cash, if you have it, for their Christmas present or for their birthday, if you have it. But if you are sitting on what I would call wet asset, like a home property, you cannot take that wet and dry it up quickly. But if you have savings that you're not spending on you because you're not worthy, according to you, nobody told you so, and you want to donate to the children, but they'll get it when I die. Why? Why not give it to them and let them squander it now? Because that's what they're going to do. Should you care? At least you can see what they're doing with it. And maybe if they get it now, they might be a little bit more restricted in how they use it, because they know you're watching, right? So, but that thing about tithing and giving to the church, and I'm telling you, I'm not against giving to the church. Like somebody called me for a donation for a basketball team, and I told her no, I couldn't do it because, and she knows me well, because I just emptied my donation account into Scott's Mission, St. Vincent de Paul, for their Thanksgiving dinners to those charities. So at the end of September, I just send the money to all these charities that do Thanksgiving dinners for people. So when she asked me, I said, no, I can't. But then I thought, oh yeah, the next month something will go in. So anyway, you'll do it again. I'll do it. But I have, and so has Betty and Colin, if you guys are still here. You've heard people come to the bank. They can't pay their bills, but they made sure they gave their 10%, because the pastor said, if you give that 10%, you'll get 10 times 10, 100 million%. And they keep doing that. And they get in more financial trouble. So there comes a time, if you're going to give what you cannot afford and your expenses are high, you need to cut back, because sacrificing that is not good for you. It affects your emotional, mental, physical, and you're confused in spirituality, because you're thinking, I give to the church and I get nothing. I've been doing that for 40 years and I'm still where I was 40 years ago. Because you didn't quite understand the power of giving. Jesus did say, you can save a little bit for perfumes and oils for your body. The poor will always be with us. That doesn't mean you shouldn't, but do not give and leave yourself with the bare bone. That's not right. So practice, create boundaries and spending plans that let generosity flow without debt. That's why I put money aside every month towards my donation to those charities when it's usually Christmas, and Thanksgiving is a big one. So I prepare for that with my financial plan. So when it comes, I empty it into those charities. That's the purpose of it. So it's nice and say, well, I give over here and I give, but do it so that you're not hurting yourself. Put a little aside and let it compound and add up with everything you do. So if you have that attitude that you do that type of thing, it perpetuates poverty, a poverty mindset. Give what you can afford. Keep some of the love you give to others for yourself. Appreciate yourself. Take time for your emotional health. Take time for mental rest and satisfaction for you, physical, spiritual. Take your financial responsibility seriously. So imagine your affirmation is this. So you have to always see where you are. Imagine a cup filled with golden light. That is the personality of the cup. See that cup overflowing, spilling outward only when full. You understand? It just, you can give when you're full of joy. Remember yesterday we had 50% is not good enough in a relationship, you need 100%. And if you give 50%, there's nothing, it doesn't work. Well, you have a full cup. Feel your emotional prosperity so you can support and listen and hear and be there. Feel yourself physically. So when somebody says to you, I have, like somebody called me to say they said my cholesterol is high, my blood pressure is high, my this is this and that is this. And they called me. And I said, well, you have to look at those 5 pillars. What have you been doing? What are you ingesting? How much sleep did you get? You see, that person has decided they're going to empty all they have into, and it's a man, mind you, it's a man. And we think it's only women that do that. And then I really have to take a look of myself. Yeah, write a list, take your 5 pillars down and see where you're abusing those pillars, what you're doing to them. So picture yourself saying a loving no where necessary, and feel the peace that comes with that boundary when you say no. Just say no. Don't lie and say you're sick or you have a headache. Just say, you know what? No, I don't want to do this today. I would prefer not to do this today. Why? Because I just choose not to. And that's a boundary. And that's, you don't need to get something, a big explanation, a choice. I give from abundance should be your affirmation, never from fear. If you're giving, even when you put a check in the box in the church or the tithing, so they can say, oh, Sister Mary Joan is tithing. But Sister Mary Joan can sit there and say, but I have no money to pay rent this month. So there was a young lady, and I met her, she was quite, involved in her church. Really involved. And she had a huge salary. She has a huge salary and she donates the 10%. And we were talking one day, financial planning, when she was ready to get a new car and to get ready to get her home. And when we came to tithing, it was 10% of her gross pay. And then she also donated about 20 hours a week at the church doing different things. So to get her across it, and I said, tithing does not only mean money, So I took her income and I divided to bring it to the hour, the price, what an hour of her time was worth. And then I told her, this is how much you should really be putting, seeing that you do all of this at the church. You're giving already that way. Right now, you're just too tired and you're just exhausting yourself, and you're not getting to get that home of your own if you continue like this. So she went and she changed it and asked, and the pastor said to her, you know, I wanted to tell you that maybe you can cut down your tithing because you give so much of your time. As she said, I was so shocked. She said, I just looked at him with my mouth wide open. And when she told me, I just started to laugh. So you have to balance things. If she hadn't gone to him and said, I'm going to cut my tithing by 50%, he would have never maybe remembered to tell her, hey, you're giving too much. You're not giving too much, but since you're donating so much of your time to all these things we have going on, you can cut some of your tithing. It was back and forth driving, the gas. Anyway, you know this story. So I give from abundance, never from fear that they will look down on me because I'm not giving a lot. That's an affirmation for those of you that just keep doing that, whether it's the fear, financial, or your body, or your emotion, or your spirituality, your whatever, your love, your time. My well-being is sacred and not negotiable. It's not. You cannot negotiate your well-being with somebody. So you have to understand that. And then you go, each pillar of prosperity supports and protects my giving. And for you to remember what to do, put some it in your journal. Where have I mistaken sacrifice for love in the past and even now? What boundary will honor this week? Will I honor this week to protect my energy? Which of the 5 pillars need replenishing today? That's all you have to do. Because sacrifice is not love. So, I'm giving this to you. May your emotional, physical, mental, spiritual, and financial pillars stand strong. May your giving flow from a cup that is full and ever renewing, because you are the only one who can renew what comes into your cup. Have an amazing and wonderful day. If you're looking for someone to be a speaker at any of your events that you're planning, get in touch with me. My email address is right here, and you can contact me, and I would love to give you more about making life choices to you or any of the topic on living a fulfilled life. Have a great day.